It's unbelievable. It's great to see you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
My arm's really tired. You're speaking about making democracy work better. There's a really terrible injustice happening. In our last presidential election, there were 3 guys that were on the ballot to run for president that were kicked out of or not let into the presidential debates in St. Louis. And same thing in Phoenix, Arizona. Here's 3 individuals that were on the ballot in enough states to theoretically become president. And they were not allowed to speak to the people. The people were not allowed to hear that message. Now, you probably know the CPD.
I mean, my sense is this time, though, this time at least, the presidential debate panels. I mean, Mike Gravel is not considered sort of
But you're talking about
credible
party
candidate.
here. I'm talking about
Or you're talking about
the nomination.
After the nomination.
Yeah, when you get the nomination,
That there are other
will you fix this problem and say, I want to debate the Greens, the independent candidates, the Libertarian candidates, the Constitution. There's only like 5 parties.
Whoever's on the ballot.
I think it's a valid point. I mean, I will tell you that the only thing I'll say is that from the perspective of the voter,
25 years old.
if realistically, because we don't have a parliamentary system, you're basically not going to get a libertarian elected president.
You know why that is?
Well, because we've got a winner-take-all system. We don't have a...
The biggest reason is we don't get to hear about them. If we could hear about them, they'd get them.
It's like we're having a bimocracy instead of a democracy.
I taught voting rights, and I'll tell you the problem is, part of it is the structure of our democracy. When you have a winner-take-all system, you win 50.1 and you win the whole thing, then what happens is it's very hard for third parties to get a foothold, which is why we've never really, even when guys like George Wallace did have a hearing, and we're saying, or Ross Perot did have a hearing and had millions of dollars, it's still very hard for them to get leverage. But the general point, my general attitude is, as many people get a hearing as possible. But what you'll hear from the networks is, look, it's nice. We're not just setting up a platform for a theoretical debate. We're choosing the next president.
But it's not up for them to decide what's currently happening right now.
We got a lot of folks to say hi to.
A lot of people, but I appreciate you keep talking. I understand.
We got to say.
I understand. Yeah, well, that's not entirely true. I mean, but anyway, but I get your point, and I'm generally sympathetic to it.
I just had a real quick,
Thank you.
a real quick question. I'm
Yes.
Mike Kelly. I'm Iraqi freedom veteran.
Good to see you, sir.
If you're elected president, would you be for or against repealing the USA Patriot Act and the Military Commissions Act?
Well, I would be in favor of completely rewriting the Military Commissions Act, as you heard me
Would
say.
they be gone or just?
Well, I would close Guantanamo. I would restore habeas corpus.
Yeah.
It depends on how the military structure is set up.
Well, I mean,
If you have a military commission system that is providing full due process, then there's nothing theoretically wrong with having a military commission carry out some of these functions. The problem is it's become a kangaroo court, and people are getting detained. They haven't been given.
What about the Patriot Act?
The Patriot Act? I would not repeal the whole thing because there's some elements to it that actually made sense. For example, before some of these changes, you couldn't wiretap a cell phone because you could only wiretap a specific location. Now that doesn't make sense in this era, where
What about the library records, though?
Well, but library records, that's the kind of silly stuff that I would eliminate. What I would do is comb through it, figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. The basic principle on this stuff is making sure that there's somebody watching the executive branch. The problem with Bush is his attitude is, I'm not answerable to anybody. I'm not answerable to the FISA court. I'm not answerable to the Senate Intelligence Committee. I will do whatever I think is best. Now that's, we fought a revolution in 1776 to overcome that, right? I mean, the idea is that's why we have separation of powers. That's what's going to be critical, and that's the criteria I'll use.
Thanks for coming, guys. I really got to get moving along.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Would you be so kind? I asked Hillary the same question about the Kyoto Accord.
Thanks, man.
Oh.